So, hello and welcome to the final live call of Season 8 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit series. My name is Louise Matson, and as always, I am truly blessed to be your host. Today, I'm really excited to welcome our final brand new speaker to the summit, the wonderful Yael Green. Yael is a hybrid human with a specific mission to help humanity during this time of transition and upgrade. And as an ambassador of hybrid technologies and a living portal to other dimensions, Yael innately balances and harmonises space, returning to a state of neutrality. Operating with integrated crystalline DNA in a highly plasmic state, she channels access to other dimensions in real time. Yael embodies an extensive knowledge of sacred geometry, balance and harmony, and is experienced in reading and recalibrating the energy of portals back to their highest integrity. She uses technological understanding of the non-physical to awaken and integrate the soul's consciousness into the body. And that's what it's all about, embodiment. That's what we're all being called to do at this time. Yael has a bachelor's and master's in business and non-profit management and a clinical doctorate in physical therapy, and has spent the last 25 years in the fields of organizational and systems management, physical therapy, somatics, sound healing, and education. Yael now focuses on paradigm shifts through system repatterning, dimensional energetics, and somatics. Now, the topic of our conversation today is hybrid wisdom and water as portals to dimensional energies. As we know, our physical bodies are mostly made of water, and the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto showed that with sound and thought, the structure of the molecules can transform. So I'm really excited to hear what Yael has to share with us all regarding this topic. When Yael reached out to me, it really felt aligned to bring her wisdom to the summit at this time, and so I trust completely that we shall all receive something truly magical to enable us all to shift into our own higher alignment. As always, please feel free to write any questions that you may have in the chat box or in the Q&A. And if you want to come on live and speak to Yael directly, then please raise your hand on the Zoom call. So without further ado, let's get started. It's my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you to the show, Yael.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and it feels wonderful to have a live exchange with everyone. So please feel free. Anything that comes up, it's exactly right. So I'm excited to have that dialogue with everyone. So shall we?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I will be
let's get started.
monitoring the chat and the Q&A. So, as it flows with the conversation, I will bring through whatever questions that you may have. But just to start off, for those people who don't know you, and as you are a new speaker to the summit, I just thought initially, if you wanted to just share a bit about, your personal story of being a hybrid human, what that means.
Yeah.
Are all of us hybrids? Is it just a select few? And, what is the position of you being here at this time for the collective?
Great questions. And I think it always helps, we've got our bios, but really it's about getting to know us personally and our stories, because that's what really connects us all and makes us feel more alive in these vessels. Because when we're not in these vessels, we know each other because we're in a unified field. We are just pure energy. So we don't know any separation. So this is the way we get to connect our separations, is through these stories and through what we've lived. So thank you for that. I want to answer the question because I'm of the mind and of the energy that we label ourselves, we put these terms on what we are in order for our ego mind to understand things, in order to create these different sort of paradigms and understandings. So yes, when do we all have a hybrid nature? Does every element have a hybrid nature? Is everything that's an element or a molecule coming together to create something else have a hybrid nature? Absolutely, because we're combining forms and we're combining elements to create this beautiful, all of these, everything that's around us, this beautiful nature of living beings. So yes, we all have that because, right, we are all made of everything on this planet. All of our minerals, all of our elements, we're all made of that. And we're all made of consciousness. We all come from that and have anchored down into this vessel to experience, or for source, or we are source, to experience ourselves in a separateness, to understand all of our characteristics and how powerful source or consciousness really is, because we do that through our experiences and through how we live our lives. So not only is it something that we see on a level of, quote unquote, manifestation, it is really on a source level that we are allowed to experience and bring power forth. And that's the reason why we connect with our power. So sometimes, and I know I'm going to go in different directions. We'll get back to the hybrid piece. But when we hear those fragmentations, meaning when we hear I'm not enough, I'm not this, I'm not, those are fragmentary pieces that haven't been brought back to be whole within this being. The reason why they have those trauma identities, I guess I could call them, is that they are fragmented pieces of ourself. So when we pull them back in and create a unified wholeness, which we call integration, which we call embodiment, that is, when we've worked through the trauma process of the nervous system, that is when we become back to our hybrid whole. And please stop me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll probably just keep rolling into expanding this.
No, I'm completely with you.
Okay,
so
great.
far, yeah, carry on.
Great. I specifically identify and find my power through this term at this season of life of hybrid human. And I've been one who I've heard why can't you just stay with one job? Why don't you just do this one thing? But why? I have to experience the fullness of my power, the fullness of this experience on this planet. That is the sole purpose of why we are here, is to experience what is around with this vessel, with our consciousness, with our energy body, with this physical vessel. So if that is the purpose, then there is there's no one identity. There's no one dimension. This leads us into multidimensionality. And I think where we're using that term a lot more, and I think is appropriate, that we are multidimensional beings, meaning not only can we experience the frequencies and information that sit within all of the dimensions, we can also experience the dimensionality of how our energy, our consciousness can move and experience it within this body. And then I can call it, this season, I'm a hybrid human. So that flow of identity shifting and experience shifting really allows us, and this is exactly why water is such an important element, and I believe why we are fully 70%, 69, whatever the numbers are. I've studied with all the different, people, the scientists, but also this identity allows state change. And that's an important thing to take in. The identity of being a water being, one, we did walk out from the water. So we can put that here. We're not land beings. Which is why it is so hard for us to stand upright. Walking is a very difficult thing. It's basically standing on one leg most of the time. That is what walking is. Think how much easier it was when we were without gravity, floating and flowing through the currents of water, through the flow of water. We forget that when we stand upright with this dynamic, denser body, because whenever you get in the water, you notice how there's an instant hydrostatic pressure that allows flotation to occur to some degree. When we're in this heavier body, and there is actually water surrounding us. There's an atmospheric water surrounding us. I have a friend who's created a machine that takes the atmosphere and creates water from it. So there is water surrounding us right now, no matter how arid it is. So if we think that we are still flowing and moving through water, we're just moving with a denser being.
Mm.
I especially think this when I see dancers, they're moving through the surrounding energy and atmosphere as if it's water. And the more that we can sort of do that, the more we can allow these characteristics of flow to be unearthed in our daily walking life on land.
Mm.
Water in itself has these state changes, right? We know it's liquid, we know it's vapor, we know it's a ice form. Why does ice float? It's a denser form. Why does it float? It has all these anomalies that don't make complete sense.
Mm.
But there's these middle states between there. That's the middle, that's this 0 point field when it is almost nothing and everything in between its state changes.
Mm.
Those 0 point fields are where the information that it gained in that particular state is accessible to us, is accessible to itself, is accessible to source. We know that water itself holds all of the geometric patternings of past, present, future, of all dimensions, of the entirety of consciousness within its element. That's an important thing.
Mm.
So it has everything we need to know in there. We are so drawn to, we could stand by an ocean. And what happens to that? Why do we go to a bathtub of water, even if we don't put Epsom salt, if we don't put anything else in it?
Yeah.
A waterfall, moving water. Not only is it the negative ions that are coming through that moving water that are shifting any cellular structures that aren't aligned. So it's sort of realigning those, because it's water not only fills our cells, but it lines all of our cells. It's the fascia of the body.
Mm.
I'll stop there. And I know I'm throwing a lot out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, what was coming through while you were talking as well was, and I don't know enough about astrology, so forgive me if I've got this wrong, but everybody says that we're moving into the age of Aquarius. Is Aquarius the water sign?
It is. I mean, I'm not an expert on astrology either, but Aquarius is the water sign.
Because what was just coming through as you were talking was that, as you were saying, there's like times for, we're made of everything, but there's times for us to be more connected to a certain aspect, element of ourselves than another. And what was coming through just then, and I don't know what I'm talking about, this is purely channeled, is that we are moving into the element of water from a whole collective perspective, because a lot of the teachings has been about flow. A lot of the teachings has been about that integrative whole, and just what you've been talking about as well. And so I just felt that had to be shared, because that's what was coming through when you were speaking.
Yeah, and I actually, on that, I want to mention, because you said, I don't know if this is right. It's just channeled. There, water, everything that comes into it is channeled, right? Water learns, and I want to say this because we've again allowed this separation, this distinction between I'm a channel, I'm not a channel. How do I do that? No, everyone has access. And not to say that what you said, I just want to point out, like, there's in our language where we unconsciously do these things. We all do it. We all do it. But the fact is, because we have water within us and many other pieces of the nervous system, we're information passes through. How do you think we're having on this conversation on this computer? Information is passing through these microfibers, these electromagnetic microfibers. We don't have to have those in these lines through AT&T or whatever the things are. Those lines are already, it's already happening within the air itself. In ancient times, before we had all this very quick technology, and this is the hybrid technology that we're thinking about, the ancient technology, the technology we actually all have access to. But those messages are coming through this plasmic substance, I call it, this sea of water and electromagnetic frequencies that are all around us. And to prove that idea, that noise, when your body feels overwhelmed, that there's been too much frequency, too much noise. When you go into a forest, why do we do those things? Because it quiets the frequency level down to a place where we can hear what is true, what is channeled. That's channeling, when we can quiet enough to hear what's important for us. And just to say that just because I hear a channel doesn't mean that that's appropriate for me. I am going to hear what's appropriate, and that could be coming through me. And I say that me as a collective me, as every single being. So.
Absolutely. A lot of people have sort of said about being drawn to being close to the sea, being drawn to being near water. I mean, one of my favorite spaces is a woodland where there is a stream, natural water source running through. That to me is sheer bliss. The sounds, the energy, just everything about it. Even when you walk through a wood and it's been raining and you see the droplets of water on a spider's web, and then you see the fractal rainbows of light through that, it's just magic to me. It's just incredible. So I mean, a lot of people are saying that they are drawn to water, and I can also attest to that. Sherry's asking, is there an original consciousness of water?
Could I get clarity on that question? I hear it and I want to get more into it. What is a conscious? Yeah, could I get a little more clarity on that? I'd love to answer it.
Yeah, Sherry, can you go a little bit deeper into what you mean by that question? And have I read it correctly? Because the actual words are, is there an original conscious of water, which I presumed was consciousness. So we might have to come back to that.
We'll come back to it, yeah. I see also taking long showers beneficial, even if the water isn't fully natural anymore. So spring water, as we know, pure state. Well, let me get that back in a second. If anyone is interested, Victor Schoberger he's called the Water Wizard. It's a long time, much before Emoto, but it is a very interesting character, not alive anymore, but talks about, and is one of the first to bring forth the states of water as it moves to becoming alive water, living water. Spring water is living water because it has run off from the tops of mountains, from ice, and then it's melted. It's gone through complete state changes. It's also gone underground. It's gone and it's picked up minerals and elements and information, and it's also flowed in the proper way that a river should flow. So it hasn't been changed. It hasn't been put through pipes. The immediate sense, when we move water that is naturally vortexing, which is what gives it its energy state, what enlivens it, and actually makes it available for the cells to use, the pushing it through pipes deadens it because it stops the vortexing of it, and it's in one material. And so it's not only not flowing in its normal state, it's not gathering. So we have this thing we call it immature youth water, because it's if we took it from when it was still under the ground, it's still there. It's still trying to gather what it is to be its full living self, because it also needs to come up and be in light and be in sun. So it gets everything, which is why at the spring is where it's completely alive and you feel that. Can we shift that in the water supply that we have now? Yeah, because we can vortex water. We can vortex water. It's vortexing is basically what happens when it goes down your drain or when you flush a toilet. That's a vortex. We have infinity vortexes that create a certain shape for it. It doesn't take very long to do that. It's even just spinning around. We can do that with something that's narrow. And the intention piece, and before Emoto, there was people that did this as well. But he did a lot of research on it, so it came out and became more popular. And that allows us really because every element wants a job, just like our pups want jobs, our animals want jobs. Every element wants to feel important. The leaves outside, they want to feel important. They want to feel a part of this entire ecosystem. It's the same thing with water, which is how the intentionality of putting words on there or putting an intention, because it gives it a purpose. It enlivens it more. So I hope that answers the fully natural question. So yes, the water is vortexing coming out of your shower. So it is reinvigorating, re-alivening it. And so if you're coming in there, even just coming in with an intention, I mean, sometimes I think if I could do all of my teaching from the shower, it would be great because everything comes through then. So
absolutely. I must admit, I do channel more when I'm near a water source.
yes.
And in the shower is a classic. I always have my phone with me because I can then just press on that microphone thing and start jabbering away, because otherwise when I'm channeling it's if I haven't written it down or something, it tends to just kind of go straight through me like water. It will just flow straight through me and not kind of stick.
Yes.
So yeah, that is, water is amazing for that. Sherry's just said, is there an original pure state of water? And I suppose in a way you kind of touched upon that, I suppose, with the underground,
Yes.
come from that natural source.
I think just to add one more little piece to that, it's water's pure state is constant change.
Yeah.
That is its pure state. It's not one state. It's the ability to constantly change without putting up a fight, without resistance. Like you don't see water going over these rocks that are in the way, like, get out of my way. What are you doing there? I was in that lane. No. I always have these memes that would be like water saying this. But no, it moves through and flows and changes and learns. It doesn't give up itself. I'm not saying that. It doesn't give up itself, but it shapes it so that it can learn. And then as it comes off the other side of the rock, it's now changed and different. It's reading water when is such a beautiful meditation. Reading water is if you're someone that has a hard time sort of like doing the typical meditation, read, like if you're near reading water, just allow yourself to look at it, and almost as if you can look and not directly be focusing on something, and allow yourself to see what's happening, because you'll understand where it's flowing, why it's doing that, how it's moving. And that information will come through because you're reading it, you're being in union with it, which is really one of the things that water wants, is to be seen, just like we do. Wants to be seen.
Joy, and I think this is kind of moving on to one of the other aspects of this conversation, water as a portal, has said, she's read that there are many worlds, portals and vortices in water connected to other worlds and universes. Do you connect to that? Do you connect to that?
Yes. Yes. One of the, I know I didn't tell much of my story, but from when I was 4, I was in the water. I was a competitive swimmer, and I used to use it as we would be swimming for hours and hours probably 5, 6 hours a day. And the space to just, there was so many other worlds that I went to that it allowed me to go into. And I want to say this, like, could we physically go into it as a vortex? The cenotes, that is one place. Cenotes are underground sinkholes in the Yucatan Peninsula that are in the entire area there that go out to the sea. That is a physical example of a portal, an underground portal, because water is under the entire Yucatan Peninsula. So the cenotes are one of physical example of that. There are many other places in the world that have underground water. I mean, also you're in the UK, so there are many wells, and we've got all of that there's mythology, and storytelling is an important part of portals and water. Because even if I'm not around water, the mythological storytelling of it, the Great Flood is exactly what is told in every tradition of how everything started. We came from water. I mean, there's no better thing. Like, yes, everything. So I can reach a portal of water through the mythological storytellings in all of the traditions, without having to be near water, without having to go to a physical place. So that can bring my consciousness and plasmic body into another dimension. That's how that works, as well as the portals itself. When you're sitting near water, it's pulling you into specific zones of consciousness that are available for you and for that time period. There's no way that you can't be by water without accessing a portal, because it is in itself that. And a portal is really just a pass through. It's a pass through, like a little hallway. Oftentimes portals get clogged up, because that's when we've got people who work on portals and they clear the energy of portals. But yeah, it's a transmission way. I wanted to also speak to some of the hurricanes.
Yeah, I was just coming to that actually. I mean, particularly as you were talking about them being portals, and the vortices aspect of the hurricane energy as well. So yeah, Caroline's just said she's in Belize and Hurricane Lisa is just arriving as we speak. So she's hoping the electricity will stay on for the call. But since we're talking about water, can you speak to the phenomenon of hurricanes, what inner significance they may have?
Yeah. They bring, what's beautiful is that they bring forth, because water has so many different characteristics, and we often see the ones that are very dramatic. Hurricanes are dramatic. We see them on the news. If people watch news, I don't watch the news, but we see them as sort of flooding areas, because water can get through any tiny little space that you don't even know exists. I mean, if anyone has ever had a room flooded or a garage flood or something, you're like, how did that get in there? Because it can move through the tiniest of spaces. And oftentimes, that's exactly, water always finds a way in. That's the consciousness that it can move through in a tiny way, in a very subtle way, if we're listening. Sometimes the space and the collective need drama, need something dramatic to become aware of it. And I want to say, I know it's like, this is now flooded and homes, it's a disaster. And it gives us an opportunity to see and to actually, and I get it. This is a hard concept, that it is necessary for flooding to occur. we need to be filled with, at times, more of this element. It reminds us, because we do often stray away from it, and sometimes it has to be dramatic. We were, I think, talking earlier, unless this was a conversation we had, telepathically before, but it's the mystery of water. It reminds us of the mystery and the reverence and the respect that it's asking for. Because when you get flooded by emotions, when you get flooded by anything, it sort of takes over your space and reminds you that there's a focus that might need to have some attention to that. And sometimes that means deconstructing what's there. And where it allows for more awareness is, how do we perceive deconstruction? How do we respond to deconstruction? And I think you were saying, like, there's something that you said this before. As we allow this, that there's always going to be something that's going to come from it that you had no idea, that is allowing you to build up a trust within the vessel, because what's responding is the vessel. Your consciousness knows that this is okay. It's constantly deconstructing. Consciousness is constantly deconstructing. Ego is constantly trying to hold tight within a box. And so when one gets out of balance, we've got to have some element that brings it back into balance, because we can't continue to be so tight. We have to allow that. And that's what water shows us. It shows us there's a constant balance. It's always, the river that's near me, it's always going up and down in its water table. It's high, it's low, you're looking for things, like, there's a lot of difference. So yeah, hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, the other thing that's coming through is as you were saying, it's kind of like, when you do have a flood, it really, it's coming through about the shamanic process of dismemberment. It's like allowing the old to die, allowing that which isn't serving you anymore to be washed away, to be washed clean, so that the new can come through. And it's kind of like, when you have a flood, you are making these massive decisions, like, okay, what am I keeping? What am I letting go of? And sometimes it's things that you really treasure, but actually the energy of those things is not serving you anymore. And because you couldn't let go of it yourself, you had that really tight grip on it. It's like the water's come in and just gone, let me take that away for you. It's not easy. It's these elements, when we are fighting against that internal equilibrium or desire to be in equilibrium, it can feel really challenging when it comes through. Because like you said, it feels overwhelming. It's like, I don't want this to happen, but the perfect thing is that it's happening.
Yes, and just hearing that, the perfect thing is that it's happening. And when you feel that frequency, it actually feels slightly exciting. Like, wow, yeah, it's happening. I didn't have to put in the work to make it happen, even though you did before. It's happening. What's coming next? Yeah, what is it? And it brings up the energy. And so when we allow ourselves to be in the energy of it and not in the past, because all of that's coming up is something that's already passed by. We just haven't put it through the 3-dimensional experience yet. It's already happened, though. You've actually already let it go.
Yeah.
And your consciousness is excited about what's next. But your body's like, insurance, oh no, my house, that's the slower 3D experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Which we also have to, we get to honor. We don't have to, but we get to honor that aspect, because it is an aspect of our being as well. Anne is saying that she's had many visualizations being in all different forms of water, but breathing underwater. Is there a particular meaning to this? And I will just say, when I was a child, one of the things that I used to love doing was having a bath, completely submerging myself and kind of swimming, in inverted commas, pushing myself off underwater from one end of the bath to the other and back, and just going to and fro and feeling that flow of water passing over me, but whilst I was underwater. So I can kind of feel into that kind of, you know, visualizing your breathing underwater, because I would just be underwater and I was okay at just being without breath underwater.
And there's actually a period, and I can't remember the exact months, I should look it up again, but when you can put a baby, you can just drop a baby in water and there's a reflex that will allow them to breathe underwater. When parents are like, oh no, they can actually, there's a certain, I don't remember how many months it is, but they can actually breathe underwater and you don't have to worry about them not being able to breathe. So that's part of our reptilian. It's in when we look at the brain and the reflexes, that's part of the reptilian brain, which is our fight or flight, you know, parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, all that stuff goes through the reptilian brain. And so that is always there, even though it's now not a reflex that happens right away as we grow older. It is still part of this physical vessel. So when we, and I do a lot of work with people when we focus on dropping into levels of dimension and consciousness, because it's a lot easier to do it through the depths of water. There's a point, and this is why freediving is so popular right now. Because one, there's no air tanks, you're not scuba diving, there's none of that. You're using the body, and at some point you hear nothing. And you're in this space of oneness. And you get past a point where it actually pulls your body down. So normally we have to go to a certain point where our body is weighted. There's a certain level that the water starts to pull you down without the effort of weights. And then there's more of the ocean that is dark, that we know nothing about, than is on the surface that we see. So those places that we can go there with our consciousness when we move out of this physical body, and we can do that in all sorts of ways. And it's not necessarily for this time to go into those, but when we do that work, we can gain not only a lot of capacity when we come back into this body to gather information, because the same dimensional understandings of the galactic realms live in the ocean. It's the as above, so below concept. It's the same thing. So for those people who coming out of their physical body and astral traveling, if that feels too like it's difficult to get back in, or it's just too much air, we do that same work going in the depths of the water, because the same information is there. Most don't realize that there's that possibility to do it in that way. And again, you can do this physically, but mostly I'm talking about we just do it in whatever process that everyone does their consciousness work.
And to me, that also feels more aligned to this kind of move from a collective perspective towards the embodiment aspect, you know, rather than kind of going up and out up there. It's like you can go out, as it were, but connecting into something that actually exists within this physical plane is non-physical way of embodiment, as opposed to free diving, because not everybody's going to be able to free dive.
I can't. Yep.
I wouldn't advise anybody
Agreed.
to just
I
go,
don't do that.
I want to connect with water, I'm going to go free diving. If that's what your body's calling for you, fine. But I know I couldn't do it, but I can hold my breath underwater, and I feel very comfortable underwater, and always have. And I will also say that I've had visualizations, whether it's past life experiences, where I've actually got webbed feet now in this physicality, and I've had experiences where I'm on a completely different planet. It's mostly water, and I've got gills. So whether I've got that memory within my DNA structure, that kind of connects naturally into water. That's a very homely place.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
an interesting conversation. Sherry is also asking about, what about water-based turning crystalline-based? Now, I want Sherry.
That's actually, yes. I'm glad you asked that, because it's perfect alignment with what you just said. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say about it before I jump in?
No. I was just saying, if you needed her to kind of go into a bit more detail, but if you completely,
let me see
what she's saying.
Let me see if this answers or talks with that. I do talk a lot about crystalline DNA structure, because everything is geometric based. Light, sound, frequencies, water structure. That's the one type of language that is spoken, quote unquote, through the ethers, through the body. We know when cells go rogue, it's that their structures have shifted. So if we take that even further, so we've got our DNA, we've got our 12-strand DNA, we also have a crystalline form of DNA that starts, I think most people probably hear about, the pituitary gland and calcification and so forth, that whole piece, which again, I don't think I often find these theories to be too much. Like, is it the pineal gland calcified because of fluoride? Probably there's some because of fluoride. Absolutely. Fluorides in water systems, not good. I remember when I was a kid, I had to take fluoride for cavities in teeth, which seems crazy now, but it was the 70s. But it's really just about bringing energy forth into these geometric patterns. So the crystalline-based DNA, which is connected with our plasmic body, our etheric body, our consciousness, because it's bringing in that DNA back to the hybrid piece of all of our ancestral lands, whether that's galactic, whether that's earth-based, whether that's inner earth-based, wherever it is, that is, because our 12-strand DNA is just our physical one. The crystalline holds our consciousness DNA. So when we bring that, quote unquote, online, that really allows us to dive into tuning in to the frequencies that are not solely three-dimensional. Right? Our regular 12-strand DNA has to do with our three-dimensional capacity. Our crystalline DNA allows us to have and remember everything else besides this physical-based body. The Akash, past lives, future lives, our galactic lives, everything, the connection to the webbing, the gills, all of those are these vibrational frequencies that our crystalline DNA allows us to experience and anchor into this body. And the anchoring it in is what's important, because that's what allows us to expand in this dimension, in this body. We have people that choose to just live in the three-dimensional world. Fine. No problem. We have people that decide to connect in with all of these different frequencies. And that's where I think there's play. And that's where it's like when we talk about that's the Maya of life. It's the reason things can be fun here. Otherwise, to me, it just seems like we're schlepping through the doingness of life. But the other is the beingness and the fun and the play.
Absolutely. And I suppose, in a way, that's really what the Mundane to Magical Summit
Mm,
origination was.
yeah.
We live in a magical world. We are magical beings. But for the most part, we've kind of lived a grayscale life.
Mm,
And really, it's, the awakening process is coming back in, allowing ourselves to come back into that awareness of Technicolor. and,
great.
and
Yeah.
and the
I love
Technicolor
that.
that we are, and that is that kind of, that they're bringing me back to that rainbow light shining
Mm,
through droplets on a cobweb.
yes.
It's that is the magic, and that is in
Yeah.
absolutely every cell in our
Yes.
body. um
I love
Michelle,
that.
sorry.
Yes. I love that you're saying that it takes it back to because those light frequencies that are coming through that droplet on the spider web are the same light frequencies that are coming through, which is why we are made of water to come through our vessel. And someone asked the relation between water and sound.
Yeah.
Lafmani seems to me to be so there's the 432 frequency and the 440 frequency. Um, Plenty of history on that if people want to dive in and Google that. We have the frequencies of each of the organs of this physical body. Uh, Water can carry any frequency.
Mm.
Any frequency can carry, and it can hold it, which is exactly what we with the Emoto. That's a frequency it can hold because light, sound, all of that is just a frequency.
Mm.
It's just how quickly something is vibrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read something about you can't hear anything in a black hole. It's like so silent. And I think of like it's our ears are just the vibration, right? It's translating a vibration.
Mm.
And we've attached a vibration. So when I say the word attached, that's a vibration. And we have programmed our nervous system and our brain to hear a word, to attach a meaning to it, possibly to attach an emotion to it, possibly to attach a past experience that brings our body into a certain past, present, or future experience. So
Mm.
we're just working on vibration.
Mm. When I'm working with clients, a lot of the time at the minute, they're their own highest vibrational aspects, because I'm purely a conduit to the work, works on what they call the translator receptor sites, which is
Mm,
just above the ears. And that
mhm,
is that
mhm.
kind of making sense of these vibrations, these
Yeah.
frequencies that are coming in. Um, Michelle is saying that she works a lot with water DNA and she speaks to water, and she loves seeing the awesome images and the glow of water. It's wonderful. And
Mm,
that this work is available to everybody. And I couldn't agree more. And she also says that speaking to the water and the DNA, she's been having some awesome experiences, such fun. Sometimes she sees her cells dancing. So, I mean, if you
mm,
are attracted to, what's being discussed in this conversation, then please go and check out Yael's work, but also, just start playing with water, the concept of how water is showing up in your life. I know there's been a number of people that have been writing in the chat. The chat's been going crazy, but a lot of people have been saying that they've had issues in their homes, like with floods and dripping taps and leaky roofs and things like that.
mhm,
And it's, for me, it's like my first go-to question is, or statement is, that's interesting. What is this? What is this giving me, this opportunity?
mm,
What's it showing to me? What's it talking to me about? And again, some of the people have already kind of been answering their own questions of, blocked emotions,
mhm,
washing things through, cleaning things out, and things like that. Nandini has asked, how do we anchor? You mentioned about anchoring it in.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that?
Yeah. So that's really about preparing an environment. A lot of the work that we do is actually about preparing the environment, because we'll just take it from a very foundational perspective of none of us are healing anything.
Mm.
We are preparing a suitable environment for the incredible intelligence of the cosmos, the incredible intelligence of the physical body. I've always said, if you had to tell your heart to keep pumping, you'd be dead, because you're so focused on scrolling, you're so focused on cooking, and that's only one of the functions that the body has to do. So we're reminded of the incredible intelligence that we most times overpower. But if we can step back from the incredible intelligence that is circling around us, that is in this body that is here, and that we can actually prepare the environment for it to receive and to move through what is necessary. That's what water does. It's a receptor.
Mm.
It brings things in and moves it through, and it continues that. It creates the perfect environment for this to happen. So if we actually set up within our bodies a capacity for it, and this is going to depend, this is very individual of how this occurs. Some people, like, I can say, if I was when I did physical therapy, I was in the water for 8 hours a day.
Mm.
I did physical therapy in the water, which is fantastic. um, and like, for me, creating the environment is being in water. It could be being around music, it could be taking a walk, whatever. It could be spending time, whatever activities or non-activities, or creating space is going to allow for these energies to come in. That is all we're doing. So if I wanted to, if I'm stuck doing something I don't want to do, and I see over there, like, that is really what I want to be doing. So I need to create the environment for that to happen, which can be scary, because it may mean that I have to not do something else, which may mean that maybe I'm not going to get the money I need then, or who knows what the repercussions are. But we have to trust that when we create the environment, all of this is allowed to come in. It's sort of waiting for us to do that. So that's all we have to do. And that's the anchoring it in, is holding something long and strongly enough for those frequencies to enter in the space, which is why I say everyone can channel. Everyone brings in information. We're always doing it. It's just, we may not be hearing it. We're not hearing it if it's always coming in.
Yeah, and again, I mean, my earliest memory was, I always used to say, I am a clear and perfect channel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was
Perfect.
bringing that in from the age of about 3 or 4. I'm a clear and
Mm-hmm.
perfect channel. And again, coming back to the kind of the floods in people's houses, the leaky roofs, the issues with water, well, supposed how we perceive them to be issues with water,
Mm-hmm.
it may be that the water is saying, allow yourself to be the clear and perfect channel.
Mm.
Clear out the blocks. Let me flow through you.
Beautiful.
Because it wants to come in. It wants to come in, and it wants to be received.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, shifting perspective on the very 3D experience of water,
Mm-hmm.
and have that kind of inquisitive mind as to
Yeah.
what is the deeper, wider, multidimensional perspective of this experience.
Yes. Curiosity, as you've mentioned, is such an important piece of creating the environment.
Mm.
And we also say this in trauma work, is get curious,
Mm.
because it allows expansion from what we know. If this is all we know, we work within that. Curiosity allows us to see what's outside of that. And I understand that sometimes curiosity can be scary. Sometimes
Yes.
it can be exciting. So it has all sorts of things, but curiosity is one of the keys.
Absolutely. And I really do feel that that brings me back into that magical child, where we all started from, that magical child that looks on the world with wonder, everything's amazing, everything's new, everything's exciting. I love to this day splashing around in puddles. When I take my dogs for a walk
Yeah.
in the morning, if it's been raining, I get my wellies on and we go for a play in the water. But it's allowing us to step into that energy of the magical child, which again, when we're caught in the mundane and that kind of grey hamster wheel,
Yeah.
we've lost complete touch with. And that's, shifting our perspective into that energy, I feel really kind of opens the world up to us in terms of, what it is and who we are and how we're
Agreed.
here to interact.
Agreed.
Maria's saying quite often after healings and transmissions, we're given the advice to drink plenty of water. What does the water actually do with the body? And how is that assisting us to, as it were, process, integrate the healing work?
The first piece that people always talk about, which is like, okay, it's going to detoxify. And my perspective on that is that we don't really need detoxification. We actually need foundational support. And I actually just worked with this on a client yesterday, about creating foundational support. We don't need to do the work of detoxification. The body knows how to detox itself. We don't have to go on the juice cleanses. If you feel like it's like this is a part of like creating a foundation, then yes. But for us to think that we know how to detoxify this body, I feel like that's honestly beyond my, like, yeah, I mean, I'm in the medical field. I know all of that stuff, and I still don't feel like it's our place exactly. I feel like it's our place to create a foundation of support for the body to do that. If you feel like if there's a green juice that would feel so nourishing, and we worked on nourishment. It's our job to nourish ourselves. So I think for me, after these transmissions, water itself is a transmitter. It itself is a nourisher. It itself allows an integration with what we already know into what's come in. So it can integrate and anchor into what is already here. Is hydration important? Absolutely, because everyone is dehydrated. We can go off on that in science as well. But from the metaphysical perspective, that is my belief on what the purpose of it is. Exactly. The body knows, and it's about deferring to that and really being in reverential respect, which is what our ancestors did. It's respect of the elements. It's respect of the knowledge of the materials and the cosmos. That's where we can put our energy, to the respect and the reverence.
Absolutely. I mean, I absolutely love how this conversation feels like a bookmark for what was channeled through me on the first conversation of the summit this season, and it kind of just feels like we're kind of bringing the other side of the bookmark together to hold space for the whole summit, really, and also bringing in the conversation with Erica yesterday about anchoring these multidimensional frequencies, these light codes, our divine individuated divine codings into our body. Now, I know one of the aspects that you work particularly with people on is, how you use water to help a humanity, the collective, individuals awaken and actualize their own resources and their own potentials through repatterning and the integrating of these. Could you speak a little bit more to the work that you do with people, and and then we'll go into the free gift offer and the special offer that you are making to the community as well.
Yeah. So I say that it's the work that I do with people is very individual, because as everyone has seen, how I approach this is in relationship, in deep reverence and deep relationship with all of the beings that are coming at that moment. So there's nothing on my site that says, here are the 8 things you're going to get out of it, and this is right for you if you want this, and this isn't right. I have never been able to do that, because the work that we do together is about creating the foundation, is expanding your capacity to bring in the transmissions that are appropriate for you. It's holding that space. And I do work that's in person with people in water. Absolutely. I do ceremonial water work in different places in the world, and that's an option. But if I'm working with someone online in a one session or in a mentorship, which is a lot of what people work with me, because it takes a little bit to sort of settle in to each other as beings, and to allow the energetics of our bodies, because every time, even in here, all of us are relating to each other, we have now changed an integral aspect of a geometric shape on this planet. We have done that in this hour. Every time I meet with people individually, we do that, because this isn't just for us as individuals. This is for us as collective. This is for us as planet. This is for us as universe. So, people come out of it with an entirely expansive possibility of how they want to move through life. That is basically how I work with people. How will it look? I cannot say. And part of that is that when people come to me, they trust, like, there's something here and I'm just going to go with it. And I trust that it's right for me at the moment. And we both come forth with that trust, because we're trusting in the reverence of everything around us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I can empathize with that, because I have no idea what's going to come up in a session when I'm working with people. People can bring an agenda to the session, but my intention is that whatever's in someone's greatest and highest good at that moment. It's not always what the agenda is that they've brought to the session, but I'm in complete trust that it's whatever they needed, not necessarily what they wanted. So just to go through the free gift and the special offer, you will find them on the free gifts page of the Mundane to Magical Living.com website. And again, you will also find them on the free gifts button underneath Yael's photo, on the upcoming calls page, and on the replay page. So please do check out the free gift and the special offer. So Yael's generously offering us a water neutrality guided journey, which is an 18-minute guided journey with sacred water consciousness to attune to our neutral state of being. And that is the free gift offering. And as a special offer, Yael is offering a discount code for her water medicine journeys, a 1-hour private session. So do you want to speak a little bit more to what that is? I know you can't say exactly what people are going to experience, because you've just said it's a personal experience. But...
Yep. It allows us time, one session allows us time to sort of jump into something that's coming up at that moment, that is either needs more anchoring in, or that is a vision that you want to start expanding into. And it gives us time to sort of activate that in a very practical and etheric way at the same time. So oftentimes there's something that's arisen for people. I listen to, people come to me, here's my story, and all of a sudden something comes from that every single time. I never have a doubt. And we dive into what's going on there. And then we end up at the end of it with, like, yeah, I feel here's something practical that I'm moving forward with that. I can give an example. Yesterday I had a call with a 32-year nurse who also does channeling through tone and voice. And we ended up with here's where you can talk to a patient in the etheric realm as you're doing some of this energy work. So it's going to vary whatever is coming up, but there ends up with, yeah, here's where we can move forward
Mm.
with that, even if we just do a one session, and it ends up being like expansive and shifting consciousness for all.
And again, I'm getting it's anchoring in those individuated divine codes
Mhm.
into
Yeah.
the physical experience.
Yeah.
So the usual value for a session, for this one hour session, is $136, but it's discounted to $100, and this is with the discount code MTM25. But go onto the free guest page and have a look, have a feel into if you feel in alignment. Check out Yael's website as well, yaelgreen.com. Also the watermatrix.org. So you
Mhm.
may find that if you go onto yaelgreen.com, you're transferred onto the watermatrix.org. It's the same page. There's been such wonderful feedback. Lots of people have been saying how this conversation is really amazing. Thank you. Such a wonderful water wisdom, feeling so blessed. Thank you very much. And yeah, Joy has just said, while you were speaking, I had a vision of how water is the element that distributes the electricity energy in the body. When the body is calm, the cells are open and receiving, and in stress, the cells are closed up and the energy stops moving fluidly. Something
Mhm.
like that, anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. And these are the kinds of things that we learn about ourselves, and this is how all of the, like, yes, yes, I want everyone to feel like everything that comes through for them, that is correct.
Mm.
If I had anything to end with, like, yes, bring, as you're, even in just this hour that we've talked, this is going to open up and flow with all of these
Mm.
experiences that are correct.
Mm.
There's, I would say, there's no need even to go and look things up and see if it's right. Yes, it is right because it's coming through you.
Mm. Yeah, and I on that I will also say that apparently, and I'm not an astrologer, but apparently Aquarius is an air sign. However, it is the water bearer.
Oh,
So
oh, okay. Thank you for.
so even though in that channeling it was sort of saying about it being about flow, again, trust what you're getting channeled. Trust the channeled information. We don't need validation from the outside world. If you're getting something, I mean, I'm just in that state of trust that if I'm getting something and it wants to be shared, I share it. If I'm getting something and it's saying something, it is that which it is. I don't need to look outside to say, oh yeah, such and such agreed with me on this, or for whatever reason, if you're getting channeled information through in whatever form it's coming, just trust. And if
Yeah.
you don't fully understand it in the moment, just sit with it, allow it to be. Maybe go near water. If you can't go near water, go near water energetically. Stand, be in the shower. Just let that deepening flow through you, connect into those deeper messages and those deeper understandings of what it is that's been channeled to you. So lots and lots of people are saying thank you very much. Julia's saying thank you very much. She's been drawn to water just to sit and watch the bay, the river, and now she'll appreciate it even more. So yes, it's a good, yeah, it is a good excuse to stay longer in the bath. Absolutely. So, I mean, that was a beautiful message for you to end the call on. But is there anything else that you want to share before we sign off?
Just to allow yourself the heart, allow the heart to be connected with this flow.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate the energy.
Yeah, the chat was on, well, I want to say on fire. The chat was in flow. The chat was in water. It was flowing. And I think, yeah, I mean, sure, from the UK and from the north of the UK, I'm definitely enjoying a very moist November. And I'm going to go out with the puppies in a bit and splash about in the puddles for sure. But for now, this is the end. We draw to a close season 8 of the Mundane to Magical Online Summit series. I do honestly feel truly blessed to be the creator and host of this series, but it's nothing without all the wonderful speakers, Yael included, and all of you guys who connect in, whether you connect in on the live calls and join in with the chat, or whether you connect in on the live calls and say nothing at all, you're bringing your energy. And to those who are watching in the replay, I hold space for the whole summit. And so, we are all one. So we're all connecting, and it doesn't matter when you connect in to these calls, to these conversations, you're felt, your presence is felt, your open heart is felt. And I thank you most sincerely for that and for joining us in whatever way you do. So thank you, Yael. It's been wonderful. I would love to have you back on again to share more about water magic and how we can, and again, as the times change, what messages and things are flowing through and what's coming through to be shared at different points in the year and different years and in the cycle of time that we're going through. It's an amazing time to be here. I know sometimes it may feel really challenging, but just as, a flood in our house may feel challenging, just trust that whatever is happening is perfect. It's happening for a reason, and allow your perception of things to just shift and flow and let go. Just allow yourself to let go and let flow. So we'll leave it there. Thank you, everybody. So much love to you all. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, wherever you are in time and space. And I will see you all again next time. Bye, everybody.